Okay, what up, everyone? Jon Mosales here. It's the Sportitos Fantasy NFL Today show. I got my buddy Fabio Lucarini. We had Michael Hammernet last week, and we're gonna have the final boss next week. And Fab is the middleman, the logic, the man of reason, who hopefully won't break Hambone's F bomb record that we set last week, and we're allowed to go to YouTube. Fab, what's shaking?
Not much, man. I'm going to try to keep this clean comparatively to Hambone.
I couldn't believe it, but I supported it. Maybe we'll do even a 3-4 man weave. Maybe next on the 21st or something. We can do like a 20-minute bit. I don't know. Who knows? But
Anytime.
so yeah, we're shaking. It's is this the best time of year? Worst time of year? I made the argument last year that March is my favorite month, but
I guess it depends if you're enjoying fantasy playoffs or not. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? It's kind of like torment in a way, right?
I think it's a good thing now. And then by the end of March, it's like, oh, I'm quitting.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We're very early stages. Some leagues haven't even hit playoffs yet, so we're in the honeymoon stage of fantasy playoffs. But yeah, by the end of March, it's like, man, enough. I don't even care if I win or lose. I just need this to end.
Yeah. Like how long can you go without checking your phone right now? For right, we got the NBA injury reports on the hour, random questionables.
Oh yeah, the 5:30 injury report is a huge one. We're all. How many times have you refreshed NBA.com injury report, or do you just wait for Underdog to tell you?
I usually do Underdog, and then once we're actually in playoffs, I'm refreshing the injury report. Yeah, it's madness, but that's what we signed up for. But yeah, we're gonna hit some NBA stuff, but we're gonna kick off with some football stuff. Even though it's the off season, we got the draft. Neither of us are really big draft guys. But we did have a trade. Did you see? Christian Kirk got traded to the Texans.
Okay. Let me process that. So Kirk's going to be what, their number two, three receiver kind of.
Well, Dell's not will Dell play even until December? So really.
Oh yeah, well Dell's toast, right? So yeah, they needed that. What do you think of Kirk? I think he's all right. Like I've drafted him a couple times. He's been very boomer bust.
I love Kirk. I think he's perfect little slot wide receiver 2, right? He's just perfectly cast. You put him next to Nico. Nico goes deep. Kirk's running these outs across the middle. I mean, as long as if Stroud's closer to rookie Stroud than sophomore Stroud, I love it.
Yeah, theoretically he should get a lot of good looks in that offense. But correct, like what Stroud are we going to see, right? That was such a Jekyll and Hyde from year 1 to year 2. But you feel like it's got to correct a little bit in year 3 if you believe in his talent, which I think most people do still.
Yeah, the post-hype sleeper, I'm a big believer in, right? Rookie Stroud was free. Second year, people paid up the moon too much, and now nobody's going to want Stroud, so I think it'll overcorrect. Like Kirk's probably going to be drafted like 125, wide receiver 40. I don't even know, but for flyer wide receivers, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the hype on Stroud was nuts, though. Like there was like MVP talk for him heading into last season, which I mean that was such a high bar to set for a guy entering his second year. But yeah, I would wager on him having a bounce back year next year if I had to.
But so one of the things I like to do is it's just I'm very narrative based, looking for themes. So Stroud, rookie sensation, who's the player that modeled what he did in his rookie year coming into his sophomore year, and do you think similar expectations or over expectations?
Are you asking me like who kind of
the obvious one? Yeah. In your division.
Oh yeah, Jaden Daniels for sure. Yeah, but like, what are you gonna like not buy him next year because of Stroud? I mean, you have to kind of be all in on Daniels anyway, don't you?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying maybe there's similar things there, right? Daniels, maybe he gets hurt. He is smaller. Yeah. They traded for Debo. I mean, nobody in March last year was saying, "Oh, you know what? Let's fade Stroud," right?
It's so much different than NBA fantasy because NFL is just so harsh. Like one injury and Daniels is just like, if he misses 6 weeks, like he becomes a bust of a pick, right? It's just like there's such a little sample size of games comparatively to like something like the NBA.
Yeah, it's pure chaos. I mean,
it really is chaos, and that's why I don't know. I feel like what percentage of fantasy football winning is luck to you?
60 minus the draft. Then if you can isolate the draft, it's like 75. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Like I just thought of this. Fantasy football is like the fantasy basketball playoffs, but the whole season.
You know what? That's actually a really good comparison. That's pretty much exactly what it is. It's just the whole season of it being fantasy playoffs.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, look at the teams that win at the end. They end up with running backs you've never heard of when the year started, who are like winning the league for you.
Yeah, our big ridiculous league that where we're in that you're going to be in next year, right?
Am I in on that? I think I'm on the waiting list, but
I think Heinz is going to bully ball you and kick somebody out.
are you adding 2 spots or am I taking over somebody?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone wants to
And
leave anymore. But
yeah, I'm
Ken won
fine.
the league. It's a super flex auction. What do you think he spent on QBs combined?
So you had a $200 budget, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
What do you spend? 120?
$5.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the guy who won only spent $5 on QBs?
Yeah.
Who won it anyway?
Ken.
Oh, Ken won it. So
Yeah.
he had just had like Tampa guys or what?
Yeah. Well, you got Baker for 4, and then you got Mike Evans, but then you got Saquon.
Saquon, yeah, I mean, if you had Saquon, hey, you're crying all the way to the bank. But he probably didn't go that cheap though, right?
No, but it didn't matter. He's throwing up 150 yards a game.
Well, if you think about it, there was probably a lot of good cheap quarterbacks who produced. I mean, like, I only did one snake draft, but I got Goff like super late, and he was just great value all year.
Yeah,
So,
Goff is great.
Like Baker Mayfield was probably dirt cheap.
Yeah, but Goff, I think Hambone paid like 21 for Goff, and then for some reason Ken got Baker for 4, and Baker was like the RB5 on the season, right? It's
Yeah, I mean, if you had Baker, that was just a huge value contract for sure. But Goff at 21 is still pretty good.
No, it's great. Yeah. Considering he got Stroud and Richardson, he paid so much for.
Oh my God, jeez, that's rough.
Yeah, you needed that.
That's rough. What do you think about A-Rich?
I was in rookie year, burned me, so I was out. I don't know, man. He's like the uncle from he's Uncle Rico, right? He can throw the ball a quarter mile.
He could throw that thing 100 yards, but like, can he aim it where he wants it to go, or can he stay?
He can't do a 5-yard out. So
his inaccuracy would scare me if you're drafting him going forward. Just I don't know if he can ever be that guy.
But the funny part is their weapons. Like Josh Downs is great. Michael Pittman's almost a true wide receiver 1. And they got the rookie Adonai Mitchell, and Alec Pierce was really good to finish the year. So it's like that's a lot of weapons.
Yeah, I had Pittman this past year. He started out really bad, but when Flacco came in, he was way better.
I know.
It's just, like with Flacco, I was like, oh man, I have a wide receiver 1. Without Flacco, I'm like, am I benching him?
So speaking of benching or saddened or let's talk Cowboys. You're a Cowboys fan. Are you like a rhino? Republicans in name only. You're a Cowboys fan in name only now?
In name only, yeah. At this point, I'm more of a mercenary. I'd rather just win bets. But I've reached a state of apathy with the Cowboys. And if I told you that 10 years ago, you would have never believed it. But that's where we're at, man. I mean, it's a two-way street with being a fan. Like if the organization doesn't show any willingness to do the right things to try and win, it's just hard to believe. So kind of just chips away at you after a while. And ultimately, with Jerry and his son running the show, I just don't have any hope of any good things happening. So, very numb is how I would describe myself.
It's funny because, Cowboys probably last 15 years as many heartbreaking playoff losses as any, as like the Bills. But whereas each loss somehow makes them stronger, you've just been chewed, there's nothing left for you.
Yeah, I could easily give you a Mount Rushmore of bad playoff losses if you want.
That's what we're here for. I want to
Okay. Well, let's start. The Romo botch snap against Seahawks wild card weekend. That's on there.
I remember that. I was in Halifax. I lost money on that. That sucks.
Oh, actually, funny story. So that was actually 2 days before I started interning at TSN, and I went in on Monday, and that had inspired the top 10. So the Romo Bobble was just playing on like every screen all day. And I was like, have I entered hell or where am I right now? Romo Bobble. I'd say the loss to the Giants when Romo went to Cabo. That was a tough one. Because I actually thought they actually could have got to the Super Bowl. That was him and Jessica Simpson and Witten went to Cabo. And then they lost. That was
I don't remember that one.
That was the year. Was that not the year the Giants beat the undefeated Pats?
I remember they beat the Packers. Giants beat the Packers in Green Bay, so maybe first round. I don't remember.
It was second. It was divisional round.
Okay.
Anyways, that was a bad one.
I can't believe that's there, right? It's got Dez caught it.
No, I was getting to that. It's a Rushmore. Dez caught it for sure. I mean, that just hurts, man. Like, I mean, that's a catch all day. I don't care what the rule book says. He was trying to reach out. I mean, come on, man. He could have just fallen on his ass, and that's a catch. But because he tries to get more yardage, and then like, you know what killed me in that game though was I believe it was third quarter. DeMarco Murray had like daylight in front of him, and he fumbled. He got stripped, and that was a huge turning point in the game. But Dez caught it. It's probably number one.
And I was thinking the Rodgers game. I think we were all watching that together.
Oh yeah, the Dak rookie season loss to the Pack. That was in Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas was a way better team at that point, but that game was nuts. That game had like a ton of stuff happening in that. But
I think that throw Rodgers made, 3rd and 18, is one of the best throws I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, and there was actually one play. I forgot who it was. It was the safety. Was he Heath? He had Rodgers from behind, and I don't know how Rodgers holds onto the ball. Like if you ever go watch that play, he crushes him from behind, and Rodgers just somehow holds onto the ball when he goes down. Like Mason Crosby, I think, hit like a Scud missile 56-yarder that like turned twice and went through. Just classic Cowboys, man. Like anything that could bad is going to happen is just. I remember that day I was like trying to like get good karma. I was like tipping people extra. I was like, please, I need some good fortune, man. But that'd be the top 4, I think. But I'm less the losses in the Dak era don't really bug me as much. It's kind of like I've come to expect them.
So the one thing I was thinking about, so when Dak rookie year, right? That was Romo was hurt preseason, and Dak came in and they won 6 straight or something.
Yeah. Romo basically got hurt, and Dak kind of just took the reins over, and then eventually, they benched Romo, right? Which I'm reminded of a lot by Hein.
It's just because my thing is I stopped becoming a Bills fan to age myself because they benched Doug Flutie over Rob Johnson, but Johnson only played like week 16 or 17, which is the stupidest thing in the world. But you're not supposed to lose your spot to an injury. Flutie lost it because their record was so good. But I guess in retrospect, that move looks even dumber because Dak has been pretty bad in the playoffs, and certainly as a rookie, he's going to be even worse, even though he was okay in that Packers game. But like, you think if they, let Dak go 6 games, bring Romo in, Cowboys maybe win a Super Bowl?
I don't think they would have won the Super Bowl. I have to go back to that year, but like, okay, I mean, if we're trying to put ourselves back in that season, Dak really played well. Like, he won them. I think they won 13 games that year, so it was hard to tell him not to play. But with that said, Romo's a legend, right? Like, no one would have been upset if you had given Romo the start in that playoffs. But from what I remember, that loss is that Dallas's defense was the issue, which it often was. Like, Dak wasn't great, but I think he still had 3 touchdowns, threw for a ton of yards. Like, he was going against a bad secondary, but
they were down like 21-0 in the first.
Yeah, I mean, they were down 3 scores right off the bat. I mean, that was Rod Marinelli was the defensive coordinator, and yeah, I mean, Rodgers just tore them apart right off the bat. So I just don't think their defense was good enough, and I think the NFC Championship would have been against the Falcons, the one that blew that Super Bowl.
Oh, that's too.
So I don't know I don't think they would have stopped the Falcons either. To be in Atlanta, I mean, that was like a high-powered offense too.
I remember that. That was the most frustrating game ever.
Green Bay wasn't that good that year. Honestly, they weren't. So Dallas really shit the bed. But man, it's hard because I love Romo too. Like you kind of like looking back on Romo, you miss him watching him because he was just such an entertaining player. Even no matter what you thought of him, like he was just fun to watch aesthetically.
It's just crazy. It's just thinking because Jerry, old white guy, Romo's white guy. He loves Romo. I just can't believe that they
bench him.
That they benched him.
Yeah, it's like Jerry's. They're like Romo's almost like a part of his family almost.
Yeah, I know.
No, honestly, right? Like he like trained Jerry's grandson or something. Like I don't know. He goes to family functions. It's true. He's basically a part of the family. So that you would think Jerry would maybe wouldn't have like let that happen, but Jerry's also losing his marbles. So who the hell knows?
That's true. Any hopes for Dallas? What pick do they have in the draft?
Honestly, I couldn't even tell. They're probably 15th. Hold on, let me look at this draft. Let me look at this draft for a sec.
Because like that, just Jerry seems like he just makes bad decisions, and like Travis Hunter won't fall to them. But imagine would they like trade Mika like Parsons to move up in the draft and then
Oh
draft
my
Travis Hunter?
god. Oh my god. Jeez. They're 12th. They're
Okay.
12th. So, I mean, listen, when you have this many holes, you can fill wherever you want. Really. I mean, their O-line wasn't that great this year either. I mean, I guess you have a quarterback, that's fine. You're not going to draft a running back round 1. But I mean, you can use anywhere. I mean, maybe it's just an unsexy like D-line pick. But
Maybe trade for Myles Garrett.
yeah, I don't know. But I haven't dove too hard into this draft, but it's supposed to not be a great one, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah,
People say bad
I don't know.
drafts.
Like, yeah.
Running back heavy, not good wide receivers,
Mhm.
but the QBs aren't that great either. So but
I mean, I guess CD Lamb's a good starting point for your offense. I mean, what do you think of Dak ultimately? Like,
he's just. I mean, I kind of love the Kirk Cousins comp where like
mhm.
Cousins with better press. I mean, he can make every throw. He does all the things, but it's like that missing thing. Whenever it comes down to it, he doesn't. He doesn't have it.
Yeah, I think like on his day he can be like a, I don't know, pseudo-ish top 10 quarterback, but
Yeah, you can win a Super Bowl with him, but
yeah.
if it's on the road, 1 minute left, you need a touchdown.
Yeah, you
I don't.
don't believe him in that point. Yeah, for sure. I think you almost needed to do like the San Francisco model, like with Purdy, where you just have so much skill around him that it's almost like impossible to fail because you just have stud wideouts, you have a stud running back. Like it just, but they didn't really even put that much talent around him either. Like aside from CD, they've had a pretty barren wide receiver core. I mean, they headed into this year with no running backs, man.
Yeah, but Dowdle ended up finishing the
Yeah,
season really nice.
Dowdle ended up finishing well, but you brought Zeke Elliott back, man. What the heck? But yeah,
And then
Dowdle turned out to be okay.
and then Cooper Rush too. Cooper Rush was really pretty solid. I mean,
Oh my god. I can't do this anymore, man. I mean, what are they going to be like? They're going to fight to be like a 9-8 team next year, something like that. Like that seems about right. Their win total was 9.5 last year, and I love the under. But
wasn't that? It was only 9.5.
I think so. I think it may have gone from 10.5 to 9.5. I don't think it dropped. Maybe it closed at 8.5. No, I think it was 9.5. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what was I going to talk about? I was going to say, what's your ideal like format for fantasy? Let's even say like for basketball.
For basketball fantasy?
Yeah, or football. Like, what do you like? If you had $1,000 and you had to invest it in any sort of fantasy, what are you picking?
In
You can
terms of
design
what I
the whole
think,
league.
in terms of what I think I could win.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd probably go auction NBA.
auction NBA. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way to fix the season? So I was talking to Marty this morning about
Yeah.
What about doing like it's a weekly roto with prizes?
Weekly roto with prizes. Yeah, I like the weekly aspect. The only problem is like how do you do that with NBA? Like so you have to make it roto kind of because my football league does a weekly payout, which is fun because
Yeah, right. It just keeps
like
everyone
listen,
engaged.
yeah, I mean I didn't win the league, but I won 2 weeklies. So no, I mean it's better than nothing. But if you could do that for NBA, that'd be awesome somehow.
Because Yahoo is it's just so rigid. It's like
Yeah, it is.
there should be just way to you just create AI and we just creates the settings you want.
Yeah.
Because I just know I'm going to be miserable again in 2 weeks.
It makes us all miserable. It also makes us all toxic. Definitely doesn't bring out the best in anyone.
But I love that.
Yeah, yeah, you would love that. I mean, you're the one stirring the drink all the time. So,
So is there fantasy etiquette? Like I get accused of stuff, but I really haven't done anything wrong, right? I threatened to bench players, which I didn't.
but why?
Marty proposed me the trade.
But you're always dangling the carrot, though. That's
Yeah,
part
but
of it. Why? But like, why? Why are you doing that?
Content.
I mean, I would say if you have a top 20 fantasy player, you don't trade him for peanuts when you have an IR spot available. I wouldn't do that.
Should the trade deadline be moved up? Realistically, I think maybe after like week 14, you shouldn't be able to make NBA trades. Same
I
with
was actually
football.
shocked that the deadline. I thought the deadline had passed a week ago. So it should definitely not be the week leading into playoffs.
Yeah.
What about, okay, so what, like, do you think, I mean, would you object to a 2-week like semifinal and a 2-week final in NBA and shortening the season? Like, if you really want to, get a proper sample size of who has the best team, is that not more fair, or do you think that's a bad call?
I don't know. I think maybe 1 week, but shorten the like big rosters, but you're only starting 5 or something.
Yeah.
Right, where the injuries don't matter, right? Whereas like, okay, you got 3 guys out, you can still fill guys in. 2 weeks maybe makes sense, but you also might be out after a week, right? If the guy has a great week and he throws up 850 points,
Yeah. It's
Um,
tough. It's tough. Like, so I'm in a matchup now where, I'm playing a guy who has Tatum, who's been top 5 or 6 all year.
the best.
And Tatum's on a 3-game week and he sat yesterday. So you're getting a maybe 2-game Tatum week. Like that's all, in the playoffs, right? So it's just hard because it's not a great indicator of your team's strength, but that's just how the playoff schedule goes sometimes.
But yeah, I think there's got to be a fix, because it's like, why are we? I'm trying to think of what the comparison is. Maybe like the elections. It's like you would do this every election every 4 years, and everyone's like, this is stupid, and the whole system's dumb, and then there's no change, right? Like,
there's no perfect fix for it. In terms of the regular season, I do agree with maybe there's like a weekly reward you could try to figure out, and I'm also pro last place should pay double entry, and in the football draft I do, last place has to host the live draft the next year and pay for food.
It's
like a bowl at the people are fighting to avoid relegation, like it's nuts.
Yeah, I think that should be mandatory now. Yeah, because I mean I love West, but I also want to stop. He's clean path to TSN because he's playing there. Nobody's starting anybody.
Yeah, he's just a figurehead at this point. He doesn't really do anything, but he does host the draft. But he's
other West. I meant your West.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about West Scott.
No, West Scott can find. He could just host a draft, pay his fee, come in last place.
Exactly. That's all he cares about. So you're referring to West Chang. Yeah. In terms of what though?
Just his path. It's like because he's always playing these bottom feeders. They don't set their lineups. He gets to win 7-2 every week. And it's just like, what's the point? So it's you got to penalize the week.
Maybe there's like a strike system on, like, if you are constantly not setting, maybe there's like a penalty you have to pay. Like, okay, fine. One time, all right, it slipped, whatever it was, you missed it. Sorry, but if it's like second time, third time, repeat offenders, maybe there's it's like a swear jar. You have to put some money in.
Yeah, that might be over-regulating, but but something.
I'm just saying, if people like legit aren't setting their lineups at the end of the year, that's an issue.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. What about with the collusion? There's always rampant collusion in the NFL fantasy draft. We had one trade where I think Luke said his phone got stolen, but and then accepted the trade, and then ended up getting vetoed. I don't even remember what happened, but like. People always say trades shouldn't be vetoed. I just agree. I mean, if you're someone like Hein and you're like a vulture, he's like Slimer meets Jabba the Hutt, and you prey on somebody who's just in last place and doesn't know what they're doing, and make a lopsided trade that swings the league, that should be vetoed.
Yeah, I'm pro veto, I would say as well, but I'm also pro, like, you can't save a bad manager from themselves. So how do you litigate that then?
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, it's the bonus trade for Yves Misty and Kai Jones probably should have been vetoed.
It should have been vetoed. And, I'm not going to light up my boy Marty on this pod, but, he knows what he did.
So fantasy etiquette, like I know you don't like benching guys to try and find,
That's just a personal thing. Like, I understand why people do that. I know you want to try to like get into the optimal matchups in your playoffs and you want to rejig the standings. Like, there's nothing wrong with it in theory. I just don't do that. Maybe I have like a weird superstition of like not trying to piss off the fantasy god. So I just kind of play my guys all the time. But theoretically, you're not doing anything wrong because that's what, you're allowed to do that. The only way it's a problem is if you're like going to determine whether a guy misses the playoffs, or maybe you're costing someone first place money because of that, then I would say maybe it's a little offside. But if you're just kind of rejigging the standings, like, it's more of a personal choice, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also, I guess, depends how much money's involved too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was in this $1,200 buy-in football league, and there's just no trading allowed because they don't want to mess around with any
Really,
impropriety. Yeah.
Interesting. What about what if we could set up like a relegation system? Can we have like can we like maybe we form a league of like 16 teams or 24 teams and just have it tiered? And like, you know what, if you want to be in the big money league, you have to earn your way in. And if you don't perform, you get relegated.
So yeah, Dow could be like two divisions. Everyone pays a $200 entry, but the relegated division only has it's like $100 prize.
You know, I don't know. I'm spitballing crazy ideas. You know,
something's got to change because it's just or we just keep upping the entry fee and we don't mind the people who don't set their lineups.
I mean, at the end of the day, if they want to donate their money, it's not our problem.
What else? I had another fantasy etiquette question. I know you don't like the one if someone hasn't been setting their lineups and then somebody texts them to be like, oh, go make some pickups because I'm trying to get in first place and you're playing my opponent.
I get it. Listen, I get it. I get why you want to do that. I think it's a little bit greasy because it's not competitive. It's like, so this person, you had no problem when they weren't setting their lineups all year, but now it's helping you and you're going to tell them to set it. Like, if they're not setting them, just leave them alone and whatever. You have to deal with the bullshit, but I get why people do it. I don't think it's fair.
The game is the game.
The game is the game. Yeah. Listen, there's no rule book. There's no real rule book. Maybe we have to write like an unwritten code, a little manual.
I don't know. Then I would just spend trying to find loopholes in it.
You would. But then you could maybe create the loopholes.
Let's see. What else were we going to hit today? Oh, I guess I should. You want to just give us a little pitch? You work at TSN. What you've been up to? What you're doing?
Yeah, I work for TSN. I just produce NBA content, so stuff with Wes Chang and Javon Shepard, just kind of like, you know, topical hits on games we do. I'm on the Basketball Island podcast. Like and subscribe. We do that once a week. And then I'm kind of just editing other stuff on my own that'll be on TSN. But yeah, generally NBA focused. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, same with us. Like and subscribe. Sport Ethos YouTube feed, right? We got Discord, Twitter, YouTube. We're doing some cross promotions. Maybe they'll have me on the basketball show, and I'll try and submarine it.
Yeah, you should. That'd be fun.
Oh my God, my brain's stalling out.
Winspool. What about Winspool?
Oh, Winspool. Oh my God.
So we should talk about it. I mean, we're the protagonists here.
So yeah, everyone else is just donating to us. So for anyone watching Winspool, it's a great format. Everyone should do it because it's like you just pay a little and you get in, a season's worth of value. We just get 3 teams. There's 8 people. There's an order that math isn't really mathing. But Fab's got the Thunder. You got Thunder, Memphis, and Spurs. With Wemby out, Spurs are crap. And then I got the Knicks, Lakers, who can't lose. What are they, an 8-game winning streak?
Oh yeah, it's Knicks Lakers are playing. So
yeah, so at least I get a win here. But yeah, Winspool it's just so much fun because every night there's some sort of I think it's
the best bang for your buck. Because it takes no strategy after the draft. There's literally nothing you can do or have to do, but you have 3 teams you get to cheer for who you may otherwise not cheer for. Like, I have more of a vested interest in Oklahoma City. That's not a bad thing. It's fun.
Except when you cross the streams where it's like I'm cheering against OKC, but I've got Shea and Jalen Williams in fantasy.
Well, you have Shea in fantasy, right?
Yeah.
So, but you kind of want them to lose, but you also want Shea to go off every night.
I know it's a hard line.
It is a tricky one to navigate. But okay, so basically, I think we're within like a game or 2 of each other at this point.
2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3. So I mean, objectively, like you got to like your chances right now, right?
Every time I look at the schedule, your teams are playing like the Wiz and the Hornets.
Oh, come on, man! How many times can the Kings play the Pelicans? I'm like every night. So one of your teams is playing the Pelicans.
You gotta love those Pellies. I gotta get back in the football wins pool. We'll pivot back to football for a second here.
Yeah, sure.
We're talking future bets with Hambone. So what were your big future bets? Because you're kind of pivoting into the futures market now. It seems like every time I talk, you're like, oh yeah, hedge, I got this future, I got this future, I got this future.
Yeah, so NFL futures, I've treaded a little more lightly than Hambone. We did have that same the Lions Chiefs 1 seed bet. He put way more on it than me. But that was still a fun one. I did hit on Josh Allen, MVP.
yeah.
And then I had a couple. I had a good parlay, man. I had Daniels Offensive Rookie of the Year, Allen MVP, but I needed TJ Watt Defensive Player.
Oh God, so that's probably 100 to 1.
No, it was. I think it was well clear of like 50 to 1 or something like that. But then Watt shit the bed, man. What scares, like, I am starting to dabble a little more on the NFL stuff. It's just the injury stuff is what kills me. It's just so harsh. Like, a guy goes down, it's over. The award is over, or you can bet those, like player to throw for 4,000 yards, or player to have 1,000 rushing yards. So, like, they're fun. It's just the injury factor scares me a little more. Where I feel like NBA, you have a bit more of a buffer, so to speak, even with the 65-man rule.
Yeah, but that's why if you were doing team, but yeah, even team football, if the QB gets hurt, you're toast. Like,
yeah, exactly. I did hit a good divisions future as well. I think I had four of the 6 to win the division. Yeah, I was big on Eagles and Lions to win divisions, but Lions was a sweat, man. Like, holy crap, that was like the Vikings. Just every week they kept winning. I'm like, I can't believe this. Like, I'm sweating. Like, the Lions, I think, were 15-1, and I'm sweating them to win the division and be the 1 seed. Because of Sam Darnold?
I forget. I was listening to Simmons Pod. I forget who was. Maybe it was Schrager. They called it, it was the biggest regular season game of all time because of the implications, right? 1 seed in the NFC, also win the division, and they were both 15-14-1 or 15-1.
Yeah,
15,
man.
14-2.
Yeah, but yeah, the futures. I don't know. Like, I think I like them as opposed to some of the daily betting stuff. I mean, there's less instant gratification, so you definitely have to exercise a bit of patience, but I do think it's an edge over the books because, like, okay, they can look at any given game and say, okay, they have a million people crunching numbers on what the yard totals are going to be and the spreads and this and that, but there's a narrative factor to awards that I don't think they can always nail down, where we consume so much stuff and we pay attention to so much of the storylines that you can almost get ahead of them in a certain way. Like, that's how I feel, especially with NBA. It's like, okay, you haven't really accounted for this kind of narrative shift that's happened yet, and I can catch you while the odds are still in my favor.
Oh, and then so you get it plus 1,400, and then 2 days later it's plus 600.
Yeah. I mean, you just sprinkle. Like, you have to be kind of committed to the whole bit, right? Like, I'm sure you could just lay a handful of futures and let them sit there all year and whatever hits, but you kind of have to ride it as a market, so to speak, because kind of have to keep an eye on, like, who's moving, when to buy. If your book, some of them let you sell, which is great. Like, I had Phoenix over 46.5 wins, the Suns this year. But after they went 9-1, I cashed out like 85% of the value of the bet.
I mean, yeah, that's just
right. So
that's amazing because
yeah, I mean, otherwise I would have been screwed. But not all the books let you do that. But yeah, I just think I do think there's a narrative thing that we can kind of grasp maybe before the books do.
Okay, what's the one, like, a false narrative in the NFL? Like, who are they? Was it the Goff MVP that was going?
Yeah. I mean, come on, man, who was ever buying? I know some people are getting, Hein was saying you should hedge if you have Allen MVP bet, but who's really saying Jared Goff was going to be the MVP? Like, if you watch football, he was driving a Ferrari. He's been handed great O-line, 2 great running backs, great tight end, great receivers. Yes, he's making the most of it, but no one is looking at Jared Goff and saying this guy's the MVP of the league.
I don't even think he's driving the Ferrari. He was just in shotgun navigating.
Right? Yeah, I mean, he basically just flipped the switch that said autopilot. Like, but yeah, I would say that. I mean, the comeback player of the year, that stuff's kind of tricky. It's just like, it's kind of like just a popularity contest. Offensive player of the year, Saquon won that, right?
Yeah, I believe. I don't even follow the awards. There's so many awards. They're always so stupid.
Yeah, and like, even MVP is kind of stupid in a way. It's just really just a pool of quarterbacks and who's going to be the top 5. But I mean, if you're looking at next year, it's probably, I don't know, where would you put your money? Like Joe Burrow, probably?
Yeah, Burrow. I mean, I like that because makes a lot of sense. I was talking to my buddy, or was it Hambone? I think he was saying Burrow, just narrative wise, right? Burrow was pretty much the best QB in the league, didn't make the playoffs. Right, next year they make the playoffs. He comes in. As long as he doesn't start slow, that's his problem. He keeps losing the first 2 games.
They're weird. They're weird that way, right?
Yeah, they lost to the Pats week 1.
But okay, I mean, do you believe in their offense no matter what next year?
Yeah, Trey Henderson just demanded a trade. So
yeah, I saw that. That's kind of a big deal for them, is it not?
Well, yeah, I think. Well, the problem is Chase and Higgins, free agent, and Hendrickson. Burrow's making a lot. Chase is going to sign the biggest wide receiver contract ever. Higgins is going to be pretty close behind him, even though he's not as good, but he's going to get paid a ton. There's just not room in the budget.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you just have to make decisions if you're a team. I guess that's why the QB on the rookie scale deal is like the most valuable commodity if they're good, right?
Yeah.
That was the Russell Wilson Seahawks, Purdy. Dallas didn't do it successfully, but Dak Prescott. No, I mean, at one point he was making like $500,000 or something like ridiculous. So that's where you can load up the rest of the roster. But what are you going to do? You're not going to pay Jamar Chase?
Yeah, well, no. Because you see these teams, and it's like they keep adding, like the Niners, right? It's like they get Chase Young, and they keep getting guys. Like, how do they keep getting guys? It's because they're paying Brock Purdy $500,000. Right? Yeah,
but now that ship has sailed. Now that ship has sailed, right?
So back to the futures. Is there like a sweet spot for you that you like a plus 600 to plus 10 versus like the long shots? Like if you go back in time, right, you would have just bet everything on Washington and Jaden Daniels, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what did he? I don't know what he opened the season at. Probably, I don't know, 10-1 or less. No, maybe 6-1, 7-1. I mean, if you're going to get something under plus 1,000 or under 10-1, I think you're going to have to at least be willing to, go certain amount on your unit, right? Like, 2 times, 3 times, whatever your unit is, because it's not as big of a payout. But that's if you're betting something that's like a plus 600, you feel pretty good that can win, right? Whereas if you're betting a 30-1, 50-1, okay, maybe it's a fraction of a unit, but man, if some of those sprinkles start shortening, then you're winning the bet no matter what, right? Like if you're
just because your odds improved,
if you have a 30-1 that ends up being a favorite or a co-favorite, and it becomes a 2-horse race, at that point you can assure yourself making money if you want, right? So you just hope those like long sprinkles can materialize into shorter odds. I think that's what you're hoping can happen most of the time.
Do you have a favorite bet all time? I was talking to Hambone. Like his Jimmy Butler bet from when they went to the finals is probably the best bet I've ever heard about.
Yeah. Oh, that was an amazing call on his part.
Yeah.
Listen, I haven't been playing futures that long. I would say last year, winning Rudy Gobert Defensive Player of the Year was a really good one for me because I caught that at 20-1, and I kind of rode it all the way down. Like I was putting more, 15-1, 10-1. I kind of rode it all the way down to him being the favorite. So that would probably be my favorite. Well, that's definitely the one I've made the most off of.
How do you approach that? 'Cause especially with the NBA ones, they don't announce it till June. Are you like pretty much counting the money by the end of the regular season? If he's like minus 300 or something or whatever.
Well, no, they actually you get paid out in April because they announced them in April. So technically the awards are presented in June, but we'll know by the time the playoffs start.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, well, so now this is kind of where, so now I mean I've locked in who I need to lock in. I've got some bets in the graveyard. I've got some ones that can hopefully win. And you kind of you see what you can come away with. Best case scenario, maybe like a medium scenario, worst case scenario, see what you might have at your disposal. But it should be a good year. There's, taken a couple bad beats. The Wembanyama blood clots sucked. I had him at some plus money, and I had a really hot ticket on Franz MIP, but I mean that would have been my all-timer. I had him at 60-1.
Oof.
So that would have been a big one for me. But I've got Stephen Castle, rookie of the year. I got some decent odds on him. Got him at like 20-1, 15-1.
Yeah, that's nice. What do you do? So like the awards, I remember the awards this year, you guys were all in on the Allen bet, but everyone thought it'd be Lamar because he got all pro and the odds flipped. Are you watching when they're announcing, and like, is it like the Oscars? like you got nominated. And you just
So
want to hear your...
I don't usually pay that much attention to when they're announcing it, but for the Allen one, I did. I whatever through the where did they announce it? The NFL awards. I think was that the first time they did it. I was locked into that, but by that point I think it had leaked that Allen was likely winning it, and
Oh, okay.
no, you know why? Because there was reports that Lamar wasn't there. Allen had like his whole team of people there, so the
So
writing was on the wall. Yeah, I was like, all right, all right. I mean, listen, if Lamar's no showing the ceremony, I'm assuming he's not winning it,
Yeah, of course.
right? But yeah, you don't really dabble much in the futures, do you? You don't have the
Maybe I should
patience.
have to. I just, yeah, I don't. I really got to. What about best ball? That's something I think we're going to start pushing a lot. It seems to be like that's the emerging market. I was talking to him about how DFS maybe 10 years ago was big. People were like, wait, I can just bet it like the stock market every day. And so now it seems like best ball, where it's like you just get to the best part of fantasy, the draft, and then it just goes away. And then you can just check in. And you don't have to do any work.
Okay, so sorry, it's just the concept quickly is what? So you
draft a team.
Sorry, is this football or basketball?
Both. I'm sure they have it for everything.
Yeah.
But then it just puts in whoever, if your best lineup every week, whoever scores the most is in your lineup, and that counts.
Yeah, I mean that would be fun. It would be like like you said, you get to do the best part of it every day, right?
It's like you go out to the bar, you're watching it's halftime in a playoff game, and it's like, all right, let's just do a best ball, right? You're 2 beers in, $20 best ball, and it's like that was great.
Yeah, I know that's definitely a fun. I think that could definitely be something to latch on to for sure. Why not?
Yeah, especially we're just like degenerate gamblers, right? We're gonna wrap up shortly, but so football prognosticating, if anything, I know it's too early, but like maybe some teams, any lessons you learned, or teams that maybe caught your eye, maybe if they got a QB, like Rodgers is out there, Stafford's, I think he resigned actually, but
I mean, if you're looking at, yeah,
Dallas?
I mean, what? No, I mean, what have we learned? I think good teams usually stick around and will be relevant again the next year. I mean, do you see the Eagles going anywhere at this point?
No.
Right? Like they might just start a reign of terror in the NFC.
Yeah, so they might be better next year.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be better. They're so well run, and they're just in their prime. I mean, now, obviously, a Saquon injury changes the whole calculus on what their season looks like, but their defense really came around. Hurts now is a proven winner. So I don't know. I could just see them being the clear favorite again in the NFC. The AFC is a little more of the Wild West. Do you think the Chiefs' aura has maybe been destroyed a little bit?
No, I mean, there's that losing Super Bowl curse, but the Chiefs kind of broke it. I mean, they get Rashee Rice back. Maybe they re-sign Hollywood. I mean, Kelsey, sure, he's kind of washed, but they just got too many weapons. And it's Mahomes. But I'm always thinking, long shots. It's just like the Commanders to me. It's like something like that happens, and I'm just like, oh, let's find the next one.
What a great ticket! Yeah.
To make the Super Bowl, what were they? Probably 150 to 1.
Yeah, they were. I mean, their over under on wins was like 4.5 or 5.5. They were in the NFC Championship. But I agree, like there's always going to be that one team who maybe has the easy schedule. They kind of catch lightning in a bottle, and they end up winning 11 or 12 games, and you're like, okay, this team's a playoff team now. So I agree with that. Looking for that kind of like who can be the Commanders of next year.
I just love to have like this super long future. Like you got $50 at 75 to 1 or something, right? And it's just the sweat. It would just be unbearable.
I had a really long shot. I don't really do anything with baseball, but I had a Tigers to win World Series at like 150 to 1, and they made it to the second round of the playoffs.
So you watched them play at baseball?
I a little bit. I was like, you know what, man, this isn't gonna win, but it's such a fun just to have a ticket like that.
Yeah, I always see these people do these cross ones. It'd be like Eagles to win the Super Bowl, and then the Lakers to win the NBA championship. And it's like 2,300 to 1, right?
Yeah, no, but like, I should start playing more of those. Actually, it'd just be fun to have make like 10 of those.
Yeah, right.
For maybe $5 each, right? That pay like to
get an anchor, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we should cook some of those up, man.
Like Dodgers, Eagles, Thunder,
right?
They're good. Okay, we're gonna wrap up. We pretty much went an hour past. This is great. Any last Shout outs, curse the Lakers, who seems unstoppable.
Who do you? Okay, before we go, who do you like to win the NBA title, man?
I commit. I kind of like the Lakers.
I mean,
LeBron's on some new stuff, man.
yeah. I mean, I'm not like a few weeks ago. I would have said you're crazy, but yeah, I mean, I can't dispute that they have a shot. Definitely have a shot. So
I just think whatever LeBron's doing at 40, he looks different, right? It's different.
it is.
We can dance around it. But if Luka gets that, Luka goes from drinking beer and doing hookah to on the LeBron program. It's like, what are you gonna do?
That'll be a lasting legacy for LeBron if he turns Luka into a machine on his way out the door after winning his title. I'm just pumped for NBA playoffs at this point, so I'm just biding my time till then.
Well, fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, that's
and then we
it.
get the lull, and then we get the playoffs.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. Fab, thanks a lot. It was great. I will see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Anytime. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
See ya.